The last story, you're only calling her a queen because your ass is horny. And most of these rappers are trash and they bore me. This is defense mode, switching to attack mode. And they flat out refuse to remaster my favorite RPG of all time, The Last Story. They refuse. Flat out refuse. How long has it been? Over 10 years at this point? Has it been 10 years? Yeah, there's no Wii era. It's more than 10 years at this point. We haven't got... I know Xenoblade took off because, freaking Nintendo owns Model of Soft. Bought them out and shit. But The Last Story, I think Nintendo technically owns The Last Story as well. They published it from Xseed. Xseed, I don't even know if they exist anymore. They didn't get swallowed up by some other company. But Nintendo owns The Last Story, and they have no intention of ever re-releasing that game. Now, I don't really care about the Blue Dragon, because Blue Dragon, I've seen game. First of all, I didn't have an Xbox, and then when I saw the gameplay, it looks like just a standard RPG. But The Last Story was not a standard RPG by the original creator of Final Fantasy. The Last Story was a great game that could easily have had its own Final Fantasy-like series. And I think Nintendo should, since they technically own the IP, I believe, unless I'm wrong, they should be able to freaking just remaster the game. Just remaster. I'm not saying remake it or make a sequel, even though I would love that. But in this life, you can't always get what you want, and I'm a big boy, and I could understand that. But at the very least, just remaster it. Like, it's not gonna take you that long to remaster. I know you got to change around the gameplay controllers from what the Wii was, but it can't be that hard. All I'm asking for is a remaster, an HD remaster. I know some of the Wii games like that, like even Skyward Sword, it took a while to remaster because of that. But for the love of God, just remaster the damn game. Because, like, in order for me to I'm considering buying myself a Steam Deck and getting Dolphin Emulator just so I can play this game again. Because even I was saying the same crap about Legend of Dragoon, and I got myself a freaking PS1 emulator, freaking PS1 Classic, freaking, emulated the hell out of freaking hacked. And I got, but then as soon as I did that, freaking a few months later, Sony, after ignoring the Legend of Dragoon's existence for freaking 10 years or something, they decided, hey, let's put the game on PlayStation 5 for no reason. So of course, and I guarantee you, if I were to get a Steam Deck and finally get myself started playing The Last Story, midway through, Nintendo's gonna wake up from deep sleep and be like, hey, let's remaster The Last Story and put it out tomorrow. So Defense Mode can get pissed off. I mean, there's no other way to play a Last Story unless you do the emulator thing with Dolphin, or play it on something, whatever emulator console you want to choose. Like for me, it would be the Steam Deck, or you get yourself a freaking Wii on eBay, get yourself The Last Story for $100 plus on eBay as well, and then you freaking play it like that. That's the only way you can play it. Shit, I ended up getting rid of my my Wii U and all the games with it, and I regret it because I didn't think The Last Story would take this long to get a remaster. I mean, I didn't think it would take this unbelievably freaking long. To the point where I don't think it would ever get a remaster. It might never get a remaster. It might never get a remaster at this point. That game is lost in history. That game will never get it. And then I'm not gonna say his name because I don't. Mitsuo something, I don't know. I'm not gonna butcher his name and try to come up with any random freaking Japanese name. What, you think I'm a person that's competent enough to freaking just stop record, find out his name, and then say it? You think I'm not that lazy? Huh? You think I'm not? Hironobu Sakaguchi. And I said it as slow as I humanly possibly can so I don't butcher it. And I have the name right in front of me. Hironobu Sakaguchi. So yeah, he is the freaking creator of Final Fantasy, and he made The Last Story. The gameplay of this game is the best gameplay in any RPG I've ever played in my entire life. I think the only one that comes close is maybe Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy 15. But Final Fantasy 15 was a rushed game. It's sad too because the gameplay was so freaking great. If the story didn't just turn into what it ended up turning to and went from a nice open world game to a linear game that just fucking ends as quickly as possible, that game could have been one of the best, but they butchered that after taking 10 plus years to make the damn game and skipping a generation. But anyway, that's a story for another time. But yeah, man, they had the best gameplay ever, man. Like, it was what Xenoblade. If Xenoblade had the gameplay that freaking that freaking When I'm saying freaking you know I'm freaking losing my train of thought. If they had the gameplay of the last story, that would be my favorite gaming RPG series of all time, and I'd be singing its praises. Well, Xenoblade went on to great success and everything because of its story and, you know, somewhat cool gameplay. Last story went under, and no one freaking talked about it because apparently the story wasn't that good, but the gameplay was praised. The story was just a typical RPG story, but they act like as if Xenoblade's story is any better. Xenoblade's story is the typical fucking machines versus humans versus machines, and some god that wants to freaking tell everybody what to do, and then we have to fight that evil god and destroy him, and then because we destroyed him, we now have free will and don't have to abide by his rules. Bullshit. We've seen that done 1,000 times already. We see the Xenoblade story isn't any better, and the whole, you know, that blonde-haired guy that was friends with Dunman, the whole him turning against us thing was just random and stupid. It made no sense for him to turn on the main character and everyone else like on Shulk and everyone like he did. That literally was done just for the sake of shock value. The last story has the same, you know, character. Like when the best friend of the main character Zell, I don't know his name right now, so I'm saying that. But the best friend of the main character Zell, who freaking turns, you could see coming a mile away. They don't hide it, but it's way more impactful when he fucking betrays you compared to when the whole betrayal happens in freaking Xenoblade. All this shit is subjective because I think Last Story's freaking story was freaking more interesting and better than freaking Xenoblade's freaking story about machines versus freaking humans and blah, machines attacking the humans. I think Last Story's story is actually underrated. It's a simple story about mercenaries that wanted to be knights ever since they were kids, him and a best friend, and then they find out the knights are corrupt. And they find out that the knights in the whole kingdom they work for is so corrupt that they're like, hey, maybe this whole mercenary thing is not as bad because at least we work for ourselves, and being a knight is not all cracked up to be because it's corrupt. And then the best friend decides, no, we're going to become knights no matter what, despite the corruption, and the main character's like, no, and he wants to save the girl he falls in love with. And to me, that story was way freaking better. And to be honest with you, the only problem with the last story was that it was a little bit too linear and that it was short. It was only 30 hours long, which you could be a short game and still be way better game than a game I put 100 hours to and got bored to death. If you grab Xenoblade's open worldness and the last story's gameplay, you have the perfect RPG. If you're able to grab, you know, expand the last story outside of that original 30-hour story and expand it a little bit more and have it in the open world like Xenoblade, and have the gameplay of freaking the last story, you have the perfect RPG. Combine the work of the Monolith Soft and the gameplay of the last story, it would be perfect. That's the only problem with the last story. If the last story was open worldness and was a little bit longer, it's already my favorite RPG, but it would be my favorite RPG times 10. It'll really be my untouchable favorite. Even my favorite games have flaws that I could point out, for the most part. But the last story, man, we at least get a remaster, Nintendo. We could get a remaster, put on the Switch 2. I don't give a shit. I'll buy it and I'll play it. At least I'll be able to play it on the platform of current gen. I don't have to get a Steam Deck because I love this game so much that I'm willing to spend 400 and something bucks on a stupid ass Steam Deck. And just so I can freaking get the Dolphin emulator, figure it out, and play my last story, man. Because I want to play the game again so badly. So it's either I buy a freaking old ass Wii and a freaking used last story freaking disc, which I don't really feel like doing, to be honest with you, or I just get the Steam Deck and get Dolphin Emulator, which I'm probably gonna do at some point. I'm already considering it. I'm already on Amazon looking at that shit because I want this game so badly. Although I got a feeling once I do that, that's when Nintendo's gonna freaking decide to just drop the game the next day or some shit, like always happens to me. But for the love of God, can we get a remaster of this game so at least a newer generation can play it, understand? If you think I'm tripping, yo, get yourself a Dolphin emulator, play that game, and tell me I'm tripping. Play that game for the gameplay and tell me I'm tripping. This is Attack Mode, this is back to defense mode, and I am out. Peace.